Hi, I'm Ryan. I make videos on personal finance. If you like what you've seen so far, like, share, and subscribe to see more. All right, today I'm going to talk about used cars. This is a bit of a follow up to my last video, the cost of car payments. So, what kind of cars? $5,000 used cars. That's a little more than your very bottom end, but just expensive enough that you get a pretty decent car for that price. I want to start out by saying in my whole life, I've never owned a car that I paid more than $4,500 for. So to me, a $5,000 car is normal, I guess. Um, these $5,000 cars, these cars are better than you think. And I say that because they will get you from A to B. They are some of them luxury vehicles that sold for, $35,000, $40,000. And yeah, it might be 15 years old or 13 years old, but what you're getting is probably a solid vehicle. It's depreciated. You're not going to lose a ton of value on it, and it's going to work for you for what I'm going to say is about 2 to 3 years. So when you buy this car for 5,000, I want you to go on Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace, browse around and see what's out there. You may not find the car that you want, and what I'm talking about is these are probably not the cars that you aspire to drive or plan to drive forever, and I don't suggest that you do. Just if you have a hard time with money or you've been caught in the rut of new car payments or lease payments and rolling over negative equity, you got to get away from that. Get the $5,000 car. You're going to have to save up for it. It's going to take some planning, or maybe you have it and you can just pay for it, but that's the plan. When you get this car, plan for repairs about $1,200, but that's over 2 to 3 years. Or if you have the money, you do it initially. And what kind of repairs? Unforeseen repairs are going to happen. There's going to be stuff that comes up. What I suggest is you maintain oil changes, get a set of good tires. If you get them initially, they're probably going to last you the whole time that you have this car. Keep your coolant level full. Have decent brakes. Make sure you have a good set of belts on your car, or a belt. You don't want that belt to break. That'll cause a lot of problems. Change your air filter. That's important. You do that once, you're probably good for 3 years. And then just make sure all your lights are working. That's easy enough, and that's for safety, and it'll save you headaches too. This car is going to get you from A to B. It's not your forever car, and don't let the cars define you. Your car shouldn't define you anyway. A lot of us think our car is a reflection of us. To some degree, I guess it is. It's a big part of our life. It's what we're in every day to get us to and from work, and you're taking your kids places or your family or whatever you're doing in your car, your travel. So it is a part of you, but it doesn't make you who you are. So don't worry about what other people think about your car, and just get over that part of it. If you have money issues and you're paying $500 a month or $300 a month for a car that you maybe can't afford, this is going to be the way to break that cycle. And maybe one day you can get that more expensive car, but for the time being and maybe the next couple of years, this is going to be a good move. So why do I say plan for repairs? You're going to have certain things come up, and every car will have its issues. You're not going to fix door lock maybe that doesn't lock when all the rest of them do, or a knob that broke, or your radio. These are little things. If there's little rattles or clanks when you go over a couple bumps, you don't have to always worry about those. Worry about the main things that are safety issues and that are going to protect the vehicle for the time you have it. When you do that, keep records of everything that you've done, because when you go to sell this car, the next buyer is going to appreciate knowing that you've taken the time to keep the records and that you put a little bit into the car and you didn't just beat it into the ground. Some people will, but it's $5,000, it's fairly expensive. So you're going to want to protect every bit of value in that car that you can, so you get something back out of it. The other nice thing is these $5,000 cars are cheap to insure, even if you get full coverage. Now, I would say get full coverage because at least you get something if you're in an accident that's not covered otherwise. You'll get some money out of it. You can just get liability, that makes it even cheaper, but I would suggest getting full coverage. And it's cheaper because the replacement cost from the insurance company is low. They know you only paid this much for it, so it's not like they're having to replace a $20,000 or $30,000 car. Maybe you just got the car, a new car a few months ago. You pull out into the street and somebody hits you and the car is destroyed. Well, insurance is going to have to cover that. All right, so you bought the car for $5,000 and you planned for $1,200 in repairs over the time that you have the car. So from there, you get 2 or 3 years down the line. I'm going to say 3 years because here's what happens. You get this car, you put a little bit of money into it. It drives pretty nice. You realize it's good on gas, it's comfortable, it's safe, and it's been good to you. If you haven't had a car like this, they do pretty good, and after a while you don't even remember that it was cheap or it's not what you wanted. You just get used to it and it's a reliable, good car. But at any rate, you bought it, you've been saving now to replace it for a few years, and you're going to get a better car. Maybe you're going to spend $7,500 or $8,000 this time, or maybe even 10. Depends. Maybe you just put a lot of money away. You never want to drive that cheap of a car again, and then you get ready to sell. So when you upgrade, you've kept the maintenance records, which I suggested. That's going to help the next buyer understand that you did a good job keeping up with oil changes and keeping the car in good shape. So you bought that car for $5,000, and when you go to sell it, you're going to sell it for $3,500, 3 years down the line. So you drove this car for 3 years for $1,500 plus the $1,200 in repairs. $2,700 for 3 years you've spent on this car because you sold it and got $3,500 back because you kept good records and you took care of the car while you had it. So $2,700 divided by the 3 years, you drove this car for $900 a year, and it was good to you. So don't be afraid of used cars. Don't think you have to have a brand new car or lease a car, because truly most people that do that get themselves in a rut, and in a lot of ways they can't afford it. You can make the payments on it, but with the lease, you pay all that money and you give the car back and you start that cycle again. If you're going to just be getting out of a lease or know what's coming up in a year, maybe you can save to get yourself a car like this. And if you're buying a new car, they're very expensive, and for what you lose initially, you might gain some peace of mind. But for me, the only way I would say to buy a new car is if you can truly afford it and you plan to keep it for a long time. Otherwise, you ultimately lose a lot of money doing that. So get yourself a $900 car.